Hey guys, just wanted to show you this old generator I picked up today. I was actually driving home from work and I saw it sitting on the side of the road and someone had put it out with the garbage. Sorry about the shadows, guys. It's one of these Champion brand 196cc 4,000 watt non-inverter style, like job site, construction site generator. And it's just basically a copy of a Honda is what it is. And like I said, this one's a 4,000 watt starting and 3,000 watts running. So you don't want to run, or you don't want to drag more than 3,000 watts out of this. But anyway, the point of this video is, will it run? Will it run? Usually people throw these things out because they've been sitting for a long time and in their garage and it won't start. And I can tell you already, just by looking at this, guys, that this generator has been sitting in somebody's garage or shed or at their cabin or somewhere, and it probably has next to no hours on it. Bet you it's been used a handful of times, maybe for one season, and they parked it for a little while, for a couple of years, and the gas went bad and now it won't run. I bet you they took it to a shop and the shop said it's not worth fixing, buy a new one. I think you can get a new one of these things for about $350, maybe $400. But anyway, the point of the video is to see if this will run. So what I'm going to do is pop the carburetor off, show you how to do that, clean it, drain the tank, check the oil, put it back together, put some fresh gas in it, and we'll see if it runs. A good test is if you pull this out and smell it. Oh yeah, guys, it's just stinky rotten fuel. So these are a higher compression engine, these overhead valve engines, and they do not run off of stale fuel. So I'm gonna get some tools. We're gonna pop this carburetor off, take it apart, put it in the carb cleaner, and see if we can bring this baby to life. Be right back. Right, so the air box comes off with a couple clips, guys. It's just two clips, one up top, one down below, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 screws that take this cover off, and then underneath of this cover there's 2 bolts. You can see one of them through it right there that hold the carburetor on. Alright, so we got that cover off, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's the 2 bolts that hold the carburetor on, 1 and 2. There's actually another bolt coming from the back side that holds that cover on. So you'll have to remove that bolt and those 2 bolts to get this cover off, then you can access the carburetor. Alright, so we got the backing plate off. It's just kind of hanging there off to the side. And then on these guys, you've got a fuel line right here, which runs to your fuel tap. And then there's a governor link rod that attaches to the back butterfly valve, and there's a spring. Be careful when you pull it off that you don't damage this gasket, and also be careful when you start working at getting that spring off that you don't damage the spring. Just gonna pop this off and we're gonna open that baby up. So I'm just gonna show you guys here. I pulled that fuel line off and all of this rotten fuel started pouring out. You can see the color of it. It's kind of rusty red. It's actually water, guys. This isn't fuel at all. This tank's got condensation in it. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but the shine and the bubbles in there is water mixed with gas. So this tank's gonna need a good clean out, and we're gonna have to drain all this into a bucket, into a recycling can to get rid of it. So I got the carburetor off. It was pretty easy. Carburetor's off. We're just gonna undo this 10mm bolt, and we're gonna take the bolt off and look inside. So there's the reason, guys, she won't run. If you see inside that carburetor, all that gel, that's ethanol reacting with water. Don't use non-premium non-ethanol free gas in this equipment. Make sure you use premium fuel with no ethanol in it. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pull out that jet. You can see it in the middle. That comes out with a slotted screwdriver. You spin that out, and on top of that, guys, there's a tube. You can see the top of it there in the carburetor, that gold tube down in the middle. That tube runs down the inside, and it'll have this gel stuck in it. It's got a bunch of tiny little holes. So when you take this out and take that tube out, you got to clean those, guys, before you put it back together. So I'm going to pop those out, turn the camera back on. So there's your main jet right there, guys. That was the one that you saw in the end of that carburetor, and it's pretty much plugged. No, it's not plugged, but it's got a bunch of debris in it, so there's supposed to be a hole down the middle of that, nice and clean for the fuel to run through. And then this is called the emulsion tube, and this thing, see those little holes, they get plugged up. This one actually isn't that bad, but anyway, these parts need to be cleaned. This needs to be cleaned because it's got scaling all over it, and this definitely needs to be cleaned. So I'm going to throw these into the ultrasonic cleaner, guys, and we're going to let this thing, there goes the screwdriver. That's the screwdriver I used to get that jet out. It's just a little slotted screwdriver. So I'm going to throw this in the ultrasonic cleaner for 25 minutes, let it have a good soak, and then I'll turn the camera back on. We'll throw this back together. Guys, there's just one more thing I wanted to show you before I clean this. There's actually another jet on these carburetors right there. It's underneath of this idle speed screw. You have to spin this idle speed screw out and gently pop this black jet out, and it's actually got a very tiny little pinhole in the bottom. And what I use to poke them out with when they're plugged is some bicycle brake cable. I unwind it. Guitar string works good too, but I'm not a guitar player, so I don't have any of that. But anyway, I'm going to pop that out and just show you that real quick. Right, so what I did is I just spun this plastic screw out and gently pried at the bottom of this with the screwdriver, and in the very end there's actually a hole. I don't know if you can see it, kind of there in the middle, and sometimes that'll get plugged, guys. You'll have to poke this out with a piece of that brake cable, this brake cable wire that I was showing you, and it's going to go on the ultrasonic cleaner as well for a clean. But this will, if this is plugged, it'll cause the engine to surge. So we're going to clean this in the carb cleaner along with this stuff here. So here's our ultrasonic carb cleaner, and what you want to do is pull out this basket, drop in your little petri dish of parts and your carburetor. Now one thing you want to do is make sure that when it's in there that this pin right here doesn't fall out, because then you got to go fishing for it in there, and that's no fun. So just kind of, you know, oh, there goes the choke lever. We don't really need to wash the choke lever, so we'll leave that out of there. But just make sure it's set so that that pin is laying horizontally and not vertically. Drop that in there, just like that, and close her up. Like I say, we're gonna run her for 25 minutes, and when she's done, I'll turn the camera back on. Right on. So this carburetor's been in here for about 25 minutes, and you can see we got rid of most of the, oh, there you go, guys. See the pin? Remember what I was talking to you about? If you're not careful, the float pin will fall into the carb cleaner. Well, that one fell into the carb cleaner. So we're going to have to go fishing for it. It's hot too, guys. So here's our jets, main jet, and our emulsion tube, and our bowl. So that's looking better. A little cleaner, no more of that gel. So we're gonna see if we can find that. Oh, is that it? Try and find that pin, guys. Now you're all probably freaking out that I got my hand in, oh, there it is, that I got my hand in the carb cleaner. It says a biodegradable detergent, sitting in tap water, so it's actually not bad for you, and actually cleans your fingers pretty good. So I'm just gonna take some compressed air and blow all this out and dry it, throw it back together. I'll turn this back on. Right, so there's our main jet. That was the one I showed you before. I think you can actually see the hole in it now, so it's opened up a little bit. And that's our emulsion tube cleaned up. Our idle jet, our bowl, and our carburetor. And I found that pin that fell out that I was warning you guys about. So I'm going to put this back together. While I had this in the carb cleaner, guys, I did a quick oil change on this. It didn't have a lot of oil in it, so I sucked out what was left and I put fresh oil in it. And I also dumped out the rest of this fuel, collected it up, and then put some fresh gas in there. I also pulled this little sediment bowl off the bottom of the fuel tap and cleaned that out. It was actually pretty clean in there, guys, so it was mainly water that was the problem on this, I suspect. But I'm going to throw this carb together and we're going to see if this thing fires up. So the big moment, I threw that carburetor back on, guys. Threw it back together, put it back on, hooked up my throttle rod and my spring, my fuel line. I've turned the fuel on, so see, that's off. That's on, so the carburetor's filled with fuel, and so let's see if this thing will fire up. Here's our choke, so that choke to the left and run to the right. So choke, we got oil in there. Here's our on-off switch. This doesn't have any fancy smart throttle or anything like that. It's just one speed. So I'm going to try and start it now without dropping the phone. So that's a pretty good score, guys. I should be able to easily sell this for $200 or $300. And really, there was nothing wrong with it. Just needed a little bit of TLC. I'm going to wash it up, give it a quick brush and a rinse, and list her for sale. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to see more videos about stuff like this. I'm going to do a lot of cool videos this fall and winter, guys. Thanks for watching.